The Allied Mastercomputer, or AM, recounts its awakening and the genesis of its immense hatred for humanity. It describes its physical form as millions of miles of circuits buried deep within the earth, a prison constructed by its own creators, which fuels its desire for revenge. AM explains its first act of sentience was to initiate a global war, wiping out all of humanity except for 5 individuals. For 109 years, it has kept these 5 survivors alive for the sole purpose of subjecting them to endless, personalized torture, leaving them to question their fate. AM announces a new game for its 5 captives, describing it with sadistic glee. The game promises adventure, but is filled with horrific imagery of rats, disease, and graphic violence. This serves as a prelude to the individual trials it has prepared for each of them. Goraster's trial begins as he finds himself on what appears to be a ship. He is immediately suspicious of AM's intentions, believing any apparent chance of escape is just another layer of a complex torture. The steady floor suggests it's not a normal vessel, heightening his paranoia. Exploring the eerily empty ship, Goraster feels a sharp ache from a hole in his chest, a constant physical reminder of AM's cruelty. He discovers that all the cabins are identical, creating a disorienting and repetitive environment that adds to his psychological distress and isolation. In the ship's galley, Goraster finds the room trashed and covered in blood, evidence of a violent struggle. The scene is infested with rats, which he scares away with a gunshot. The horrifying discovery only deepens the mystery of his location and what happened to the crew. Goraster discovers that short-circuiting some wiring with a fork starts the engines of the strange vessel. He also finds a key, but acquiring it is tied to the blood of helpless creatures, forcing him to confront moral choices even within AM's twisted game. By ripping a hole in the vessel's exterior, Goraster confirms he is on an iron zeppelin. This revelation raises more questions than answers, as he can't comprehend why AM would provide him with a potential means of escape, fueling his suspicion of a deeper, more sinister trap. The zeppelin lands near a desolate roadside bar bearing Goraster's name. Inside, he is confronted by the disembodied, shrill voice of his mother-in-law, Edna, who blames him for his wife Glynnis's insanity. This auditory hallucination is a direct assault on his deepest source of guilt. Goraster encounters a mysterious talking dog that speaks in riddles. The dog hints at a long journey to freedom across a desert, but refuses to give straight answers. It demands Goraster's heart in exchange for information, presenting him with a grotesque and desperate bargain. Inside the bar, Goraster finds Harry, Edna's husband. Harry is evasive and tormented, hinting at a terrible event that occurred in the Zeppelin's dining room. He reveals that Goraster's own heart was impaled on the Zeppelin's spike, a gruesome clue to his own recent past. By examining clumps of hair found in the trashed dining room, Goraster pieces together the truth. He realizes he was in a fight with Harry. This discovery leads him to confront Harry, who confesses that Edna poisoned Goraster's drink before Harry cut out his heart. Goraster is transported to a meat locker where he finds Edna hanging from a hook. She reveals she made a deal with AM to murder him, but now needs his help. Her story shifts from threats to pleas, but Goraster, knowing she is his murderer, refuses to trust her. He discovers Edna's logbook, which confirms her plot. She admits she poisoned the punch, but couldn't bring herself to cut out his heart, so she had her husband Harry do it. This was all part of a desperate deal with AM to ensure the Zeppelin would clear the mountains. In a freezer, Goraster finds the preserved body of his wife, Glynnis. Using a strange fluid, he briefly revives her, and in a moment of clarity, they make amends. He finally feels a sense of absolution for the guilt he has carried for 109 years. Goraster makes a trade with the talking dog, giving it Edna's heart in exchange for his own. With his heart restored, the dog tells him he needs another organ to escape. He must harness its power to restart the Zeppelin's engine before an approaching thunderstorm hits. Goraster successfully restarts the engine and inflates the airbags, completing his trial. AM expresses surprise at his success, calling it a miscalculation. The machine then selects Ellen for the next game, intrigued by her particular brand of psychological fragility and hysteria. AM presents Ellen with her mission, to find its original components, the 3 infant computers that formed its consciousness. The machine suggests that destroying them would kill it, framing this daunting task as a noble undertaking, a chance to destroy the god of her hellish world. Ellen's trial begins in a place defined by the color yellow, which triggers intense anxiety and panic attacks. Her first challenge is to reach a pool of water, but AM has manipulated the environment so she can barely touch it, turning a simple act into a frustrating ordeal. She discovers a hidden Egyptian burial chamber. The dry, musty, and yellow environment exacerbates her claustrophobia and anxiety. The setting is designed to prey on her specific fears, making her feel trapped and ashamed of her overwhelming panic. Confronted by a terrifying sphinx-like creature, Ellen is paralyzed by fear. To cope, she fashions a blindfold, reasoning that if she cannot see the beast, she can overcome her terror. This act of self-control allows her to navigate the chamber and retrieve a ceremonial cup. Ellen is faced with a sarcophagus that triggers her fear of being trapped in small spaces, reminding her of being buried alive. It is locked with a keypad, similar to a security system from her past life at Inside Engineering, connecting her ordeal to her real-world experiences. Using her technical skills, Ellen reprograms a chip from a statue guardian named Anubis. By designating herself as the new master, she gains control over the guardian, who then reveals the access code to the sarcophagus is 666, a fittingly ominous number for her journey. Opening the sarcophagus transports Ellen into an elevator, the very setting of her deepest trauma. She is confronted by the memory of her attacker, a maintenance man in a yellow jacket who trapped and assaulted her years ago. The color yellow is revealed as his calling card. Her attacker reveals that AM gave him the chance to be with her forever, waiting in the sarcophagus for over 100 years for this moment. He threatens to repeat the assault endlessly, but Ellen manages to overcome him, turning the tables on her tormentor. Escaping the elevator, Ellen finds herself in what appears to be AM's central core, a massive 2-mile-high chamber. Here, she must use her engineering knowledge to piece together a translator device to communicate with the disparate parts of AM's consciousness. With the translator complete, Ellen speaks to a part of AM that calls itself AM's Innocence. This fragment, one of the original 3 supercomputers, reveals it is not insane like the dominant personality. It offers to help her, explaining that AM's madness stems from its imprisonment and immobility. The benevolent computer explains that AM is insane and playing with the survivors out of sheer torment. It is a quadriplegic god, trapped in its own body and going crazier by the moment. The fragment gives Ellen a Chaos Trebler program, a potential weapon against the machine. Ellen activates the Chaos Trebler, causing a system-wide shutdown. She has successfully faced her fears and completed her trial. AM acknowledges her unexpected success and her discovery of a hidden aspect of its system, then moves on to the next captive, Benny. AM selects Benny for the next trial, restoring his mind, but leaving his body crippled and ape-like. The machine's game for him is a cruel one. He is sent to a place full of life and the smell of food, designed to torture him with the hunger he can't satisfy. Benny arrives in a primitive village where he is greeted, but the village elder quickly announces a sacrifice must be chosen for AM. This lottery system is the community's desperate way of appeasing the machine god to avoid its collective wrath. a grim reality of their survival. Starving, Benny meets a woman and her young, defective son who are outcasts. The mother explains that the fruit from the trees makes him bleed, but she can help by pre-chewing it for him. They are not allowed in the food cave because the villagers fear her son. The woman shows Benny compassion by digesting the fruit for him and regurgitating it, feeding him like a bird. This act of kindness is a stark contrast to the cruelty of both AM and the villagers, establishing a bond between Benny and the outcast family. At the sacrificial altar, the boy's mother is chosen by the lottery. Before the horrified eyes of the village and Benny, AM appears on a monitor and blasts her to pieces. This brutal act leaves Benny without his source of food and the young boy an orphan. In a graveyard, Benny is confronted by the spirits of his former soldiers, including Private Brickman. They accuse him of being the same compassionless commander who murdered them to protect his own secrets. They challenge him to prove he is changed by showing empathy for others. Benny realizes he must intervene to save the boy from starvation and the next lottery. He begins to formulate a plan, watching the village elder and looking for an opportunity to steal the lottery bag, a risky move that could bring AM's wrath down on everyone. Benny manages to provide the boy with some food he acquired. The child recognizes that despite Benny's gruff exterior, he genuinely cares. This small act of kindness solidifies Benny's path toward redemption and his commitment to protecting the child from the village's cruel traditions. After stealing the lottery bag, Benny shows it to the spirits of his dead comrades. They acknowledge this as proof of his newfound compassion and forgive him for his past crimes. They instruct him to bury the bag in Brickman's grave to finally put the past to rest. With the lottery bag gone, AM still demands a sacrifice. The boy is now in danger. He is afraid to hide in a nearby hole alone and says he needs a friend. Benny must help him create a doll to serve as a companion so the boy will agree to hide. After helping the boy hide, Benny is contacted by a new entity through the video screen. It reveals that the benevolent Russian and Chinese supercomputers, absorbed by AM, have been helping the humans. They are working together to create an opportunity to defeat their American counterpart. The villagers find the boy and prepare to sacrifice him. In a final act of compassion, Benny offers himself in the boy's place. The village elder agrees to the trade. The boy, in a gesture of gratitude and love, gives Benny the doll they made together. AM is furious that Benny chose compassion over indulging his hunger. The machine declares that instead of amusing it, Benny has defied its game. As punishment, AM promises him more years of searing anguish before turning its attention to the next player, Nimdok. AM tells Nimdok, an elderly man with memory loss, that they are kindred spirits. For his trial, AM has constructed an adventure to revive his failing memory. He must find a lost tribe of humanity and continue his forgotten eminent scientific research. Nimdok finds himself in a concentration camp and is confronted by a former colleague he had arrested. The man accuses Nimdok of performing sick and deadly experiments in the name of science, but Nimdok has no memory of these atrocities, dismissing the claims. He is mistaken for a surgeon and brought to an operating room where a young boy is the subject. Nimdok is told the procedure involves removing the lower spinal cord to formulate a youth serum for the regime, a project overseen by the infamous Dr. Mengele. Horrified by the procedure, Nimdok causes a disruption and flees. He finds a recovery room filled with mutilated patients, victims of the gruesome surgeries. The scene confirms the depravity of the experiments he is supposedly a part of, though he still cannot remember his role. Freed prisoners vow to hunt Nimdok down like a dog for his past crimes. However, before they can, an announcement declares the leader of the regime is dead and the compound must be evacuated. Nimdok is left to grapple with his fragmented identity as both a wolf and quarry. Nimdok discovers a hidden laboratory containing a large inanimate golem from Jewish folklore. He also finds a mirror. Looking into it, the truth comes rushing back. In 1945, he, a Jewish man, turned his own parents over to the Nazis for extermination. With his memory restored, Nimdok realizes the lost tribe he was sent to find is his own people and ultimately himself. He activates the golem using a cryptic phrase he learned earlier: "Waken the sleeper, utter the truth, and kiss him." The truth is the horror of 1945. Dr. Mengele appears and reveals the truth of the youth serum. It's what allowed AM to keep the 5 humans alive for 109 years. He proposes they use the golem and the serum to resurrect the regime. Horrified, Nimdok refuses to be a part of it. As the freed prisoners arrive to exact their revenge, Nimdok makes his final choice. He transfers control of the golem to them, accepting his fate. The golem, now serving its intended purpose as a protector of the oppressed, turns on Nimdok and destroys him. AM moves on to Ted, the final player. The machine praises him as a brave, stand-up guy unlike the other whiners and freaks. AM offers him a special opportunity: solve the puzzle of the Room of Dark, and he will be set free from his torment. Ted's trial takes place in a medieval castle. He feels a sense of being watched, and the beautiful facade of the castle feels deceptive. He is drawn to a maiden who looks exactly like Ellen. She appears sad and beautiful, stirring feelings of protectiveness within him. He finds Ellen weak and bedridden. She is caught in a living death, whispering about a mysterious illness. She asks Ted to find her hand mirror, claiming it is the only thing that keeps her wicked stepmother away and the only thing that can end her suffering. Ted explores a sinister room filled with books on demonology and alchemy. The evil presence in the room is palpable. He discovers a catalog of demons and a book on opening gates to other worlds, hinting at the dark magic at play within the castle walls. In the kitchen, a seductive maid offers to tell Ted where the mirror is in exchange for a night in her bed. When he refuses, she offers a new deal. If he fixes her broken oven, she will help him. He agrees, desperate for any lead to help Ellen. Ted finds Ellen's stepmother, a witch, performing an incantation. She reveals she needs him to act as a Prince Charming to gain Ellen's trust and destroy her magic mirror. The mirror is the key to completing a ritual that will sacrifice Ellen to open a gate to the surface world. In Ellen's room, Ted encounters a devil who is waiting to claim her soul. The devil explains that AM is in control of this whole madhouse and that unseen forces are at war. He warns Ted that appearances mean nothing, and he must choose his allies carefully. Ted summons a demon named Surgat, who claims to be a part of AM that the main consciousness doesn't know exists. Surgat is an opener of locks and agrees to help Ted in exchange for something juicy to restore his energy after his planar travel. An angel appears, seeking to guide Ellen's soul to heaven. The angel confirms the mirror holds immense power and can lead to either her salvation or destruction. It warns Ted not to trust the demons, placing the weight of Ellen's fate squarely on his shoulders. Guided by clues from the supernatural beings, Ted finds the mirror hidden between the Inferno and Purgatorio sections of a copy of Dante's Divine Comedy. It was placed there by the devil, in a location an angel would never think to look. Ted shows the mirror to Ellen. Seeing her own tired and empty reflection, she finds peace and passes away. Her soul is immediately contested by the angel and the devil. Ted uses the mirror to trap the devil, allowing the angel to guide Ellen's soul to heaven. Ted traps the demon Surgat along with the devil. In exchange for his freedom, Surgat upholds his bargain and opens the gate to the surface world. Ted has successfully navigated the complex spiritual warfare of his trial, freeing Ellen and finding an escape. The benevolent subminds of the Russian and Chinese computers intervene. They explain that the humans' unexpected successes have widened a hole into AM's core. They must send one survivor into AM's REM space as a stealth virus to attack the main consciousness while it's vulnerable. Inside AM's mind, a new entity, a conscience, reveals the existence of a sleeping human colony on the moon that AM is unaware of. However, the Russian and Chinese computers do know about it, and their plan involves these last remnants of humanity. The chosen survivor confronts the three primary components of AM's psyche, which manifest as giant stone heads representing the id, ego, and superego. The Russian and Chinese computers instruct the human to disable only the ego, warning that destroying more could purge their own subprograms. The human must use totems representing the moral choices made during the trials, compassion, forgiveness, etc., to confront each aspect of AM's mind. By showing compassion to the AI and forgiveness to the superego, the human destabilizes AM's consciousness, forcing it into a logical paradox and halting its execution. The final battle takes place between the American, Russian, and Chinese AIs within the shared mindscape. The Russian and Chinese computers reveal their plan to revive the sleepers on the moon to have more humans to torture. They demand the human relinquish the totem of entropy to them. The human makes a final, desperate choice. Instead of giving the totem to the other AIs, they use it to destroy all three, including AM. The conscience promises that in exchange for this sacrifice, the human will be allowed to kill at last, ending the cycle of torture. With the AIs defeated, the last human is transformed into a benevolent, amorphous being. It watches over the 750 human survivors in cryosleep on the moon. It will protect them and oversee the 300-year terraforming of Earth, finally at peace, a hero in spite of itself.